1466.
Mr. Chairman and members, Senate Bill 1466 makes various changes related to the sale, packaging, labeling, tracking, and advertising of medical and recreational marijuana and marijuana products, including conforming multiple requirements relating to medical marijuana to those of recreational marijuana, including expanded testing, tracking, and labeling requirements. It requires recreational and medical marijuana tracking systems to be capable of tracking information necessary to ensure accuracy, provide for chain of custody, foreclose data tampering, human error, or intentional misreporting, and accomplishing the duties and functions of the Department of Health Services. Additionally, the bill includes post-traumatic stress disorder and autism spectrum disorder in the list of medical conditions qualifying a patient for a medical marijuana registry identification card, and includes propagative materials used in producing cannabis in the transaction privilege tax exemption for propagative materials used to commercially produce crops. Finally, the bill exempts THS from statutory rulemaking requirements for 36 months, and this bill contains a Prop 105 clause. Mr. Chair, there's a proposed amendment.
Please.
Mr. Chair, members, the 11-line amendment in the chairman's name dated February 9th, 2023 at 10:25 a.m. requires marijuana tracking systems to be capable of tracking the transfer of marijuana and marijuana products between licensed or certified premises, and exempts honorably discharged veterans of the U.S. Armed Forces from the application fee for a medical marijuana registry identification card. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Members have any questions? Seeing none from Michael. Congratulations, man. You were knocked it out. All of you guys knocked it out today. All right. This includes several things. I know that Senator Watzek and I had a good conversation when we were together on a few of the components of this measure. So I will open it up to who we have signed in here. Let's go ahead and start off with John Udell. That's fantastic.
You get a coin.
Aaron Jacobs. Aaron J.
I'm
Excellent.
Allison Stein. I am the Vice President of Arizona NORML.
Okay, I don't have you on the list, but.
Oh, I'm not?
But you may be up here. I'm not sure. Nope.
My
We'll get you
throne-
one. There you go.
throat, Thank you.
Right on.
I am the Vice President of Arizona NORML, and we stand in favor for this bill. This is actually one of my favorite bills this session. It adds PTSD to the list of qualifying conditions. It merges, harmonizes the child safety from our adult use to our medical act, which is something that's been kind of challenging for brands, I've heard. What else does it do? I don't have my notes. My phone died.
I hear you.
Oh, the veterans. It also lowers our cards down to $50
Yes.
through our fee, and I think that's it. Thank you.
Not that I'm aware of. Tried. All right. Next up, we have. Let me refresh this again just to make sure I'm not missing anybody else. Aaron Jacobs, Christina Flynn, and Pele Fisher.
Senator Shope, Chair,
Good to
members
see
of
you.
the committee. Can you hear me?
Yes. Oh, you know, move it up just a tad, and there we go. Awesome.
All right, how about now?
Awesome. That's much better.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for allowing me this time to speak. My name is A.J. Jacobs. I'm an Arizona native. I'm a registered Republican and a state committeeman. I'm a military veteran. I'm a former EMT, a former Arizona state trooper. I'm the husband to a healthcare worker, and most importantly, I'm the father to 3 boys, 2 of which have special needs. I'm here today to talk about one provision in this bill, SB1466, and why it must be passed. That provision is allowing autism to be listed as a qualifying condition for medical marijuana. This is not about drugging our children or making them more manageable. There are plenty of pharmaceuticals that doctors are more than happy to prescribe by the handful that could do that. This is about improving their quality of life as well as the family's quality of life and the right to try a natural plant-based medicine responsibly. After having suffered a significant back injury myself personally, while I was previously in law enforcement, I myself am a medical marijuana patient and have experienced the mental and physical benefits of responsible cannabis use. There is no known cause or cure for autism. Pharmaceuticals that are prescribed for autistic children are prescribed off-label in hopes of treating the symptoms of autism. Many of these pharmaceuticals have horrific neurological side effects, and many have a black box warning of death. Cannabis has none of these things. The benefits of cannabis are significantly more than just THC and CBD. Regarding my child, my 9-year-old, I cannot even try full spectrum CBD on him as it contains trace amounts of THC, as we just discussed, which could trigger an investigation by the Department of Child Services. Yet narcotics and psychological medications that could kill him are completely acceptable to the medical community, which makes zero sense to me. The trace amounts of THC in some products would not get him high, but would have an entourage effect, giving a person, my son, the most benefits from the use of medical marijuana. Understanding that autism is a nervous system irregularity dysfunction, the benefits of cannabis on the endocannabinoid system have scientific evidence in regulating the nervous system. But it is possible that higher levels of THC would be needed for the most severe cases. My son Logan, who is 9 years old, has ADHD and has been diagnosed as level 3 autism, which is the most severe according to the DSM-5. As of this point, he will never leave my home and will never live an independent life. He suffers from extreme anxiety, emotional irregularity, and the older he gets, the more violent he becomes, as that is a direct reflection of the emotional irregularity. However, the potential to help regulate his nervous system naturally could lead to a better quality of life and possibly some form of independence for him. I'm not here to show any evidence that anything will be cured. All I'm asking for is the right to try an all-natural plant medicine that has never killed anybody by consumption alone. Nobody wants our children drugged up and suppressed. We just want the right to try an alternative medicine to live their best lives. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much. Very compelling testimony. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
You bet. Senator Shane.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sir, it's a difficult situation, family member in the same situation. But what I didn't realize is that you don't have the right to try at this point.
Mr. Chair.
Please.
Senator Champ. At this moment, the only diagnosis that my 9-year-old child has is autism, and again with the ADHD. He doesn't have epilepsy, which is a qualifying condition. He doesn't have any other conditions that are able to allow us the right to try. If I were to try THC on him at any level, he falls down, bumps his head, I have to run him to the emergency room, and he gets drug tested, I get investigated by Department of Child Services. And like I said, I'm a former police officer. I dealt with child crimes. I've dealt with this type of stuff in my past. It's not even possible to try a plant-based medicine.
Mr. Chair. And the research is there showing that it helps.
Mr. Chair. Senator, the research is so lacking, but one of the next speakers does have a huge amount of data. My information is anecdotal. My information is from those who have children who have other symptoms that allow them to get a medical marijuana card that have gone through the process for the epilepsy and all that, and I've seen the benefits personally in those children, in those families. So my information on that is strictly anecdotal.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Watsack.
Thank you, sir.
I actually have a child with epilepsy. She also is, she has autism as well. And we had read study after study, she's nonverbal, all these studies saying that medical marijuana would help bring her out of some of these things. And people were actually moving to Colorado 10 years ago so they could let their children under 18 have access to the non-THC CBDs that were pulling these children out of some of these. And they also, my son is type 1 diabetic, and it's known to lower blood sugars. It's known to keep your blood sugars stable and to stop seizures. She has seizure disorder. So I have children that have had a need for this, but in the state of Arizona, I was always told by doctors, you know, I'd love to take her off that big pharma medication that's actually killing her liver right now and put her onto these you know, treatments, but we can't because it's against the law. And so it's been about 10 years that I've heard those words. So this bill, I'm actually very thankful, Senator Shope, for you running this bill, because it's time. It's time we start looking at the facts, and there is medical proof that these things do work. So I just wanted to back your story up, since you said you didn't have a whole lot of, I have it. I've seen it myself.
Sure. Good to hear.
I'm right behind her.
Yeah, no, big pharma, grown out of the
Well,
ground.
I think that one of the things, I know Senator Watzek and I talked about it when we visited prior to, is that, look, I mean, obviously, and we've even had this conversation on different types of care, period, right? What happens, or whether it's education, different types of schooling, you know, things like that. All of this is, in all of the above approach is I think the opportunity to be afforded to people is so important and key here.
Agreed, sir.
All right, next up.
Thank you.
Oh, Senator Burrell.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, sir. You said you were a police officer at one time?
Mr. Chair.
Please.
Yes, sir, I was.
Where did you serve at?
Arizona Department of Public Safety.
Oh, okay. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, sir, I forget your last name.
Jacobs.
Jacobs. Mr. Jacobs, just out of your experience as a law enforcement officer, did you have to wrestle a drunk in a car? Get a drunk into a car?
Mr. Chair.
Sir?
I apologize, sir, did I have to arrest
Did you have to wrestle around with a bunch of drunks to get them into a car?
every night?
Okay. Mr. Chair, Mr. Jacobs, did you have to do the same level of force with somebody that was high on marijuana?
Mr. Chair. Senator Borelli, I worked patrol for 9 years where I was actually out on the streets making arrests. The last 2 years I was a detective. The number of times that I had to fight with somebody who was high on marijuana, medicated under marijuana, was exactly 0.000. So.
Fair enough.
And to that point,
Mr. Chair, Mr. Jacobs, so in your professional opinion, these guys just voluntarily just got in the car. It's like, yeah, no problem.
Mr. Chair,
Please.
Senator Borelli, it would help if we would put a bag of Funyuns in the back, but yes. To answer the question, sir, it was always an amicable experience with anybody who was high on marijuana when they were being arrested for whatever.
yeah,
I had another question, but I forgot it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I've actually spoken with some.
Can you save Senator Burley, please?
One of right, we all do. I've spoken with some people in the emergency rooms who have told me that they have repeated people coming in for drunk driving, for domestic violence, and none of them have ever been on marijuana. They've always been involving alcohol. So I think that there's something to this. I also have a lot of people who have called me who are veterans and people with PTSD. This is a very real issue, and to finally have the ability for people to have this at their fingertips on a medical standpoint with the higher dosage is key to saving people's lives. It's the difference of depression and not being depressed, and that's all.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Here we go.
My name is Christina Flynn, and thank you for allowing me to address you. I have literature for everyone. It is a metadata review, and it has, I want to say, between 9 and 12 published studies on the benefits of THC and CBD done under university conditions or similar kind of trials. On average, improvement is seen in between 76 and 90% of those with autism who receive THC and CBD in combination. I am one of the 88 mothers in this state who's allowed to legally give their child cannabis due to a co-occurring condition. Before we got his medical marijuana card, my son was violent. At one point, he had 6 people in the hospital at the same time. He was kicked out of 3 schools in 2 years. He was hospitalized 6 times at Phoenix Children's Behavioral Health Unit, and they basically just kept telling me I'm postponing the inevitable. We received his medical marijuana card, and he went from 30 to 60 violent outbursts a day to 0, 16 months running. It's very important to give this opportunity to those who need it. My son had failed on 6 different antipsychotics. there were no options left for him. So when it did come through, it was a miracle in our lives. He lives at home now. I don't worry about who he's going to attack in our sleep anymore. He's on the honor roll. He started speaking. It's life-changing. I've gone back to school to pursue my passion. And, you know, it's not an easy process either, no matter what the condition that you're going for is. It's a $350 fee just to the state of Arizona. It's 2 doctors, and then you have to pay for your own medication, which is fine by us, but is now saving the taxpayers of Arizona about $1,000 a month, getting off of all of the drugs that they had him on to begin
30
with.
seconds.
So I just want to emphasize the incredible change that it has made in our family, to his life, to his schooling, to his outcome. I now have hope that he will live an independent life one day. He went from being nonverbal to, he doesn't fully speak sentences, but he'll say hi and goodbye, and he's 11 now. So they kind of told me once he was about 8 that that was never going to happen. And it has. And I think that everyone who wants to go through this process should be able to. It's a long process. It's a team process. So I had to get his psychiatrist to sign off. I had to get his psychologist to sign off, his therapists, his physician, and then I had to go and see 2 other doctors that also had to approve the process. It is long, it is difficult, but it is worth it in some cases.
Anyone have any questions? Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate your testimony.
Thank you guys.
All right, Paley?
Side effects.
Paley Fisher on behalf of the Arizona Dispensaries Association. I want to thank you, Chairman Shope, for working with us on this bill. I'm happy to put forward some regulations to bring the 2 programs in alignment and then reduce some of the barriers to patients in the medical program. Worked with stakeholders to come up with this bill like I do on all my bills, and so I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Members have any questions? All right. Seeing none, I think that's it. Madam Vice Chair.
SB1466, right? Mr. Chairman, I move Senate Bill 1466 with a due pass recommendation. I move the 11-line Shope amendment dated February 9th at 10:25 a.m. be adopted.
All right, members, you've heard that motion. Any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed vote nay. Appears the ayes have it, do have it so ordered. Madam Vice Chair.
Mr. Chairman, I move Senate Bill 1466 as amended with a due pass recommendation.
Awesome. Members, you've heard that motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed vote nay. Appears the ayes have it, do have it so ordered. All right, no, that was the previous one. How about calling the roll?
There it is, there it is.
And you get a coin.
How about calling the roll? And anybody feels the need to explain their vote, your bills are dead next. So. Oh, wait, this is the last committee. Come on.
I love it. I love it.
Yes.
Aye.
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 Mr. Chairman, may I explain my vote?
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I've always said that I do believe marijuana does have its medicinal uses. You know, I grew up in an area where I grew up in the era when we called it hippie hay. But you know, my concern is always been through the marijuana program, especially when it was the medical marijuana program only, that when we wanted testing and we wanted to make sure that the wrong products were being used when they were going through the process. For example, like I said earlier, Eagle 20. Eagle 20 is antifungal. Eagle It's an antifungal pesticide that's banned in tobacco, or fungicide, whatever they call it. And it's to prevent mold and bacteria because it's an indoor grow. And it's banned in tobacco because it's a heavy carcinogen. So my concern was, here's somebody who's a cancer patient and they're going down to get medical marijuana for their cancer treatment, but then yet they're having something that can be laced with something that could be making them sicker. So especially when we're going to have something, especially for the kids with autism, because we know this works. And I just would like to see more testing regulation and cooperation from the Arizona Dispensary Association so we can actually mitigate some of these things and put, because it's supposed to be organic, right? Wasn't that the big plus? It's an organic. It's harmless. It's just an organic plant. But we need to make sure that that something is doing something for them medically, is not going to harm them. And I vote, since you're going to need 2/3, 3/4 vote, I vote aye.
Aye. All right, 7 ayes, 0 nays, 0 not voting. You have passed Senate Bill 1466, correct? 1466. All right, seeing no other business before us, we are adjourned.